What's going on, guys? Today we're going to take a look at the Olympus XA2 and why I think this is the perfect travel film camera. So I recently got back from Paris and London, and one of my main cameras that I used on the whole trip was this Olympus XA2. And let me tell you, it was a blast to use. I was blown away by the film. I was able to shoot on this little camera, and again, I had so much fun using it while I was in London and Paris. So I thought I would go over the XA2 a little bit with you, and then I would go over some of the shots that I was able to capture with this camera on my trip and talk about why I think it is a great film camera if you are looking for a small film camera to carry with you on your next trip. Okay, so how did I come across this Olympus XA2? This is actually a funny story. So I recently have been going to estate sales in search of different types of film cameras, and I actually picked this camera up about a week before my trip. I was scrolling through the website and I happened to see the Olympus XA2 sitting on the table. What I didn't see was the flash, and then the flash ended up being there on another shelf, so I was able to get both of them for $20 at the estate sale. I was actually pretty shocked to find out this camera still worked. When I was at the estate sale, I turned this camera to, it has a little battery check on the bottom here. And I don't know if you can hear that, but a little buzzer goes off to ensure that your battery is still properly working. You can see here, if I turn my flash on, and once the flash is ready to trigger, you see it is a little bit brighter over here. And now if I hold this up, I can take a photo and you see the flash did go off. So really a great combo that I was able to pick up for $20, and I picked this up about a week before my trip. I took some Fuji 400 with me because it isn't the most expensive film. I was actually able to get a 3-pack for around $20. So I wasn't that much invested into it, but I must say I was surprised by the photos I was able to capture with this little camera, and it seemed to be working perfectly fine. So I'm super happy with the pickup of the Olympus XA2. Also, I did want to mention that I did recently start a Substack where I am sharing a lot of my behind the scenes photography, film photography, and it really is something great that I am building up. So you can check out my Substack. It's coleblackie.substack.com. I'll put a link to it right here and in the description below. And I'd love for you to follow me on my journey over at Substack. Now let's talk a little bit about the design and functions of this little point and shoot camera. So as you can see, it is relatively small. Here, I'll hold it up next to my iPhone so you can see the size comparison. It is about the size of an iPhone, maybe a little bit thicker. And actually, if you take the flash off of it, which it just screws off right over on the side, it becomes even smaller. So look at how small this camera is once the flash is actually detached from it. And this is awesome because I really was looking for a small film camera that I can carry with me on my trip to France and to London. And because I was carrying my Osmo Pocket 3 and I was also carrying my Canon R8 and a couple of other cameras, I really wanted to bring a film camera with me that wasn't going to add a lot of weight to the kit that I was already bringing with me. And so the XA2 is mostly an automatic camera. So what you are doing is you're opening up the camera like this. It is a clamshell opening. I'm twisting it, and then I'm just taking the photo, and that's all I have to do. You will see the only options that I do have to change here is I can change my ISO of whatever speed film I am shooting, and I can also change the focusing, and the focusing is done by zone focusing. So if you look at the top one, it is going to be focused to infinity, so you can use this to shoot landscape or anything that's really far away. The middle ground, which is its default, I found that it worked really well if your subject was around 8 to 9 feet away. And then if you go all the way to the bottom, that's the closest it will focus, and that is around 3 feet. And one thing that it does also choose for you is your aperture. So it is going to start at 3.5, but the aperture does drop all the way down to f11 on the Olympus XA2. And in order to counterbalance this, what I actually did was I shot my Fuji 400 at ISO 200, and this is because I wanted to give this camera as much light as possible, because I was afraid that with it choosing all the settings that it would see the bright sky and it would automatically bring down the f-stop, and so all my images were going to be very dark. But because I did shoot it at 200 speed instead of 400, I actually think my photos were really well exposed, and I think this is a great trick if you are going to shoot with the Olympus XA2. Most of the time I just had it on my wrist, so if I saw a shot, I was able to quickly grab my camera, take it, and then I was able to move on. There wasn't really a lot of thinking going into the settings, which I really appreciated. All my thinking was going into the composition of the shot, and I think I was able to capture some amazing photos with this XA2. Okay, so now let's get into some pros and cons of this camera. I'm going to start with the pros because there really aren't too many cons. Like I said, the biggest pro for me is how small it is and how high of a quality of photo I can get out of this camera. And to me, I think that is the perfect combination because I don't like carrying a ton of gear with me. For work, I travel with video gear and camera gear all the time, carrying many Pelicans. So when I am just out there traveling for leisure, I really try to keep my camera equipment to a minimum, right? So that's why I love the Osmo Pocket 3 so much and my Canon R8 because they are really small cameras. And throw this camera in there and it's just as small of a film camera compared to other competitors. And I think it really is hitting that sweet spot of size and quality. My next pro is how much fun this camera is to use. It really brought me back to those days of in the early 2000s where I would go on vacation with my family and my mom would just bring a couple Kodak or Fuji point and shoot cameras, and then we would get them developed once we got home, and it was so much fun to see those photos. And I must say I had that same experience. It's like Christmas Day when you open up and see those photos for the first time. I love that feeling. The anticipation is incredible, right? It's so much fun to see the photos you were able to capture on your trip. And I must say these photos are very nostalgic. They remind me of photos that were taken in the early 2000s. And I'm so happy I was able to capture a lot of memories on this little film camera. And now I have those memories for life. So in that sense, I think that is a huge positive for this camera and any film camera out there, right? It's so much fun to use, and really that excitement of seeing your photos for the first time is a big draw for me and for many others in order to shoot film on your trip. Because this camera is fully automatic, it's actually choosing that shutter speed too, and I did notice if I don't give this camera enough light, it chooses a shutter speed that's actually pretty low, and I did get a lot of motion blur in some of those shots where the scene didn't have that much light. So going forward in the future, I just want to make sure that I am giving this camera as much light as possible. So I really want to use this camera during the daytime, and when it's really bright out, summer, you know, that is a great opportunity to use this camera. And you can see here some of the photos that I took in Notting Hill where it was extremely bright out. The buildings are very vibrant. I was able to capture those photos incredibly well, and those are some of my favorite photos from my trip. Okay, so would I recommend the Olympus XA2 as a little travel film camera? Absolutely. This camera was a ton of fun to use in Paris and France, and as you can see, the photos I was able to capture really are great, and I had so much fun using this camera. It definitely has a nostalgic feel to it, right, with those iconic flashes from coming off the point and shoot, but also the shots I was able to get just while I was traveling throughout those two cities. I think it really captured those memories in a unique way, and I'm very happy with the photos I was able to capture on this little camera. And I think if you picked up an Olympus XA2, you would be happy with your results too. Awesome, so that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. I really hope you guys learned something about the Olympus XA2 and enjoyed some of the photos that I was able to take. Please like and subscribe to my channel because you know it helps my channel grow. And if you do have any questions about film photography, the Olympus, or anything of that nature in general, please leave them in the comment section down below. And as always, you can check out my Instagram and TikTok. I am posting a lot more content on those channels. You can check out those channels right there. And please come follow me on Substack. I am posting a lot of my film photography and all that nature of photography, videography over on my Substack. And you check out my Substack right there. It is colebalecki.substack.com. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.